Hey, hey, hey! Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. I got to tell you, the energies are up and down, left and right, up, any way but straight, right? The energy level has been crazy for a lot of different beings here on Earth today. Our dog started acting kind of crazy today, and in a good way, I think. When your husky asks to go outside and it rings the bell. We got a little bell that rings when it wants to when it wants to go outside, and he goes over and rings the bell just so we can open the door and he can stand there and look out without going out. That's what he's been doing all day today. So he's kind of curious as to what's going on outside today. He went on his normal walks and runs with the kids, and as we did our outdoor chores and spent our time outside today. And other than that, he's been acting real, kind of peculiar, up and down. Never is just happy-go-lucky self today as much as he usually is. um, and and you know that could be, we could take it as several different ways, right? And I'm here to tell you that I know that is, it may not feel like it right this moment, but that it for me is a way to know that change is coming. That Mother Earth is getting her due, and it's going to follow suit right on through. So I'm happy to be here today. I'm grateful. Um, I could have thrown up my hands about an hour ago and told everybody I was going to bed because I feel like doing that too. But here I am because I love each and every one of you. I do, and I'm not going to leave the dogs hanging. Here to do my part as well. Um, they're two wonderful people that we work with every day in and day out on this whole Truth Seekers family. I mean, they're just not the only two, but they're two that I've come accustomed to working with, and we laugh and we cut up and we clown and we find truth that resonates and that works and that doesn't need support or propping up in any way. In other words, to share it, we don't have to convince you to listen to it. We just put it out there. It's up to you to do the rest, right? And um, my relationship with the sheepdogs is just one of gratitude, and I wanted to give the sheepdogs a great big shout out tonight, and uh, as we're getting started, and each and every one of you that come on a regular, that are in the chat, that keep the conversation interesting during the show and asking your questions as well. And um, I hope I hope to one day to be able to get all the comments from every platform during every show without having to flip screens and all kinds of other stuff. But because I know we miss some, and the goal is not to miss any, but the goal is to be able to share and converse with everybody. And thank you, truth be told, we're grateful for y'all as well. Thank you so much. Um, with that being said, folks, we've had a lot of hard truths over the last 6, 8 months. A lot of hard truths, right? Complete 180s in some cases, and and some things that we kind of felt that were there all along that are finally showing their face that they are, right? And um, the thing is that there's two things I want to. Last night's show, I got triggered by the vets having to jump through hoops, and be on the floor be on the Senate floor in Texas, doing the hula hoop and hokey pokey just to get taken care of. And that's the first thing that triggered me. That's bullshit. And, I called it out last night as I saw it. And then the police officers. I mean, these crackheads with authority and power that don't deserve, first and foremost, the authority and power, uh, perceived or not, perceived legally or lawfully or not. We're not a nation for which they have portrayed us to be and want us to continue to become. We're not that nation. We're not that people. Um, and when you individualize it and you collectivize it, you begin to see that we're capable of being in a collective with differences if we have love at the helm. Righteous love isn't always pretty, folks. It's not rainbows and unicorns, right? We'd like for it to be, but it's not. There's good and bad in everything and everyone. The plan that the plan that we have talked about so much, and others are talking about too, has many different angles too. But the one true angle is that our Creator took care of all this during creation and set it into motion, and it let it plays out, and that it plays out naturally each and every time. We are victors and we are victorious. Yeah, we have to fight to get there. Nobody said it was going to be done for us. We hope the whole political thing would be something that would shake out, with a leader like Donald Trump. But hell, we don't even know who the real Donald Trump is anymore. And I think that's by design. We're not going to get deep into that conversation tonight. That's not the goal. The goal is to get it deep into the conversation that's within each and every one of us, and that's to know that you don't need a middleman between you and your Creator. That's an open relationship, one that has never faltered and cannot be. It's a bond that cannot be broken. And it exists between each and every one of us as brothers and sisters in that light. So as I sit here, I got a little pain I'm dealing with. So if y'all hear me grunting or anything in the background, just ignore it. I'm fine. All right. It's called healing for a reason. I'm doing it without the need of narcotics. Okay. Even though they wanted to prescribe them, I'm not. I'm not taking them. And I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good with it. A lot better than expected. The muscle that comes from my abdomen, my abdomen just above my hip, and wraps around to the backside center back, is the muscle that I tore. And it's painful. You can roll and step wrong, and your hip come out of joint. And I get close to that every now and then. I don't think about it when I'm getting up, and I can push forward with my hips and get my hip pushed up almost out of joint, and it's painful. But I know that if I'm mindful of it, just like I am mindful of my heart and my mind being in control of me, versus allowing a king or a kingdom to do so, I'm going to be just fine, and so is each and every one of you. I talked to several of you today. Took over 80 phone calls. Didn't get to everyone that I had called, but I will. Okay. If I didn't speak with you today, I'll definitely speak with you tomorrow. And a lot of people were a sentiment of the same message that I was that I was given last night, despite the cuss words. Enough's enough. We're standing up to it. Every corner, we're going to stand up to it. That's all that's required of us, is to do our duty and stand up to it. Not create violence, but come in peace without backing down. Right on, truth be told. I'm right there. So I wanted to start the night out with that message and say hello to the sheepdogs. How y'all doing tonight?
Pretty good, Mike.
Good. Hot here in Texas.
All right. Good, good. Glad to have you with you tonight. Have you with us tonight, and I look forward to the message. I was thinking, guys, maybe at 8 o'clock we could flip on Rod and Dr. G, and let that play if y'all want. But let me know how everybody feels about that. Um, but as we get going tonight, I don't have any research to share with you. I'm sure the sheepdogs do, and I'm grateful for the research they do bring in each and every day. um, I'm going to talk briefly about the UCC codes and the excuse me, the letters that are coming out of the woodwork to people from all different kinds of agencies that nobody knew existed, even trying to collect from them. The big things are the taxes, and others are people that are actually trying to con the other people out of their mortgage. Okay, which your mortgage in itself is a con. We've proven that over and over again. It will be dealt with. It's going to be dealt with. However that shapes out. But right now we got what Chief Warhorse described as carpetbaggers. These low-level scumbags thinking they could swoop in and catch unsuspecting sheep and take their property from them. They're going to try everything they can over the course of the next 7 to 10, 12 weeks, folks. These carpetbaggers. We're going to stand up to each and every turn of it. I hope that everybody in Texas, or the representatives, I'm going to say it's their representatives, right? Two governments running side by side, or appearing to run side by side. One being the one we should have been looking for and working within all along. Let them know no more. No more. They're going to drag our veterans on stage and have them, jump through hoops to get taken care of. Like I said last night, I don't care if it's 10 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. A damn sorry ass sheriff and governor needs to get drugged their ass out of bed and made to do their damn job until we have other options. This stuff doesn't need to keep happening. The two crackhead officers that were trying to get that lady's identification that they had no lawful standing to do. to get her identification, let alone with her kid in her arms, and one shut in the vehicle wanting to get out so that they could be with her as well. Briefly over the UCC codes, folks. Miss Glenda is putting it out several times during the day. It's a 3-page series in Telegram that really, lays out the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of the coupon method and applying rebuttals to these letters as they come from these agencies trying to, survive by any means necessary, including ripping you off even further than they already have. As soon as I scroll back up to where it was last posted today, it couldn't have been that far. I saw it a little while ago. Mr. Sheepdog, thank you so much for posting a screenshot of the show from yesterday being under our show's category on the .com. Thank you. It's always there. It usually stays in the featured column, which is right as you log in. We're having to keep that column clear to keep bandwidth usage down. So once the show is over, it comes out of that column and goes into a specific category like our shows. Thank you, Mr. Sheepdog, for that help today. I want to read this piece from Kaz too. Kaz wrote earlier today, 8:07 a.m. this morning. This is what one of the things she wrote. When we were born onto this land, we are immediately free, sovereign. Unfortunately, the generations of indoctrination negated our seeing and realizing what free means. So we lived the lives we were entrusted to live, shaped into and around, and thought we were free as the United States type citizens. What we are realizing is that those generations, years in our own lifetime, were rules, limitations, control structures to keep us in line when an evil power and corrupt system was being put in place and utilized. To step out of that, realize that free means we can choose our own path, but it must be through love and light and honor, integrity, truth in that path. We decide for ourselves and for what they need to be for ourselves. Thus, if one so chooses to be or stay in fear of breaking out of the evil system, they may never, or it certainly will take longer, experience what true free really means. It is time y'all be free. Work on the inner evil indoctrinations of judgment, fear, anxiety, not thinking for self, following the leader, greed, empowerment, reduced self-esteem, and break free of the old self into the new self in love and light, and realizing that the creation of you was the perfection. Out of a love for you so deep, it will bring one to tears, and recognize that you followed through human needs to process similar in order to be as completely full and free as you can be. It is most definitely a process. It requires some action, work, new tools, like-mindedness, meditation, shadow work, learning the lies, empowering self to just be and be secure in that each and every step of the way, etc. It also requires humility and ego work. But what a beautiful ride. What a beautiful time to learn and realize how much we have to be, and we have been, and been this way for many generations. Be free. Check your fears. Start somewhere. Free is happy and confident, no matter what. I thought that was a great piece and it did me justice to read it this morning too. Thank you, Cos, for sharing that. One of our very own over at Truth Seekers sharing that, and she's becoming very, very powerful orator, and she's very capable of putting her words to pen and articulating them beautifully. While we're going to it, let me read to you an excerpt from the blog post that Mr. Sheepdog has been keeping up with and sharing with us all. Only by knowing the methods by which we are being deceived can we progress, is the title. Only by knowing the methods by which we are being deceived can we progress. Most of us try to live through the idea of what we consider to be good, but our ability to actualize the authentic, genuine, real, true good is limited by various barriers. Many falsities are accepted as truth, which creates an illusionary perceptual framework of reality that binds us to what actually is happening. By digging deeper into the false reality, we have been conditioned into tacitity, accepting. We can begin to uncover the hidden parts of reality that exist outside of the normalized standards of that people are restricted to see it. Only by knowing the methods in which we are being deceived and made to believe in falsicity can we begin to progress in evolving consciousness and actualizing truer, realer, and higher potential versions of ourselves. This is part of many ancient stories, tales, mysteries, legends, and myths. Right, good, and higher self, and higher will, and higher spirit, etc. Where does our time, attention, energy, and effort, and determination, dedication, and persistence go? We need to prioritize learning truth and morality and bring that more into the way we are living. As we accept and spread falsity that seeks to align with reality in order to perceive, conceive, and understand and navigate correctly, rather than foolishly and fumbling around. As a result of conditioning into falsity and living as a falser self, our sense of what is good, right, and true gets corrupted. Our truer self potential is greatly diminished as a result of diminished care for truth and morality within us. The compass of care, compassion, and empathy concise is out of whack, out of alignment with the inherent magnetic force of our core potential to do better. And I'll leave you with that excerpt from the blog post. The full blog post is really good. That's been shared in the Telegram chat. Thank you, Mrs. Sheepdog, for always sharing Mark's stuff. Each and every time he updates a blog post on that topic, Mr. Sheepdog is on top of it and shares with each and every one of us. All right. All right. Here's a three posts that Miss Glinda has been working on, basically taking our notes and turning it into an actionable step. All right. Go ahead, Sheepdog.
What? Oh.
Sir?
Do what?
I thought you wanted to say something.
Oh, no, I didn't unmute it. I must have did it by accident.
All good. All right. So your coupon method, the original coupon needs to go to the CFO, okay? And she starts out by giving you notes on how to look up a CFO for a company. An educational guide is what she's calling it. A chief financial officer is a key executive in any organization responsible for overseeing the financial operations and ensuring the company's fiscal health. If you need to locate the CFO of a company for business, research on networking purposes. There are several methods you can use to gather this information ethically and effectively. Below is a comprehensive list, comprehensive guide to help you understand and navigate the process. Step 1, identify the company. Before you begin your search, ensure you have the correct name and details of the company. Companies may have subsidiaries or divisions, and the CFO may be specific to a particular entity. Clearly defining the company will streamline your search and prevent confusion. Step 2 is to check the company's official website. Leadership team, including the CFO, on the About Us leadership or similar sections of their official websites. These pages are often the most reliable sources as they are maintained directly by the company. Things to look for: executive biographies, corporate announcements, organizational chats, and we could go on and on. There's just 3 examples right there. Step 3, consult regulatory filings. Public companies are required to disclose information about their key executives in regulatory documents filed with government authorities. In the United States, for instance, you can access this information via the Securities and Exchange Commission website using tools like Edgar. Search for these types search terms: annual reports, Form 10-K, quarterly reports, proxy statements. Your proxy statement form is going to be a DEF 14A. These documents often include detailed information about the CFO and other executives. Step 4, use professional networking platforms. LinkedIn is a powerful, yes, it is. LinkedIn, okay, step 4 is where we're at, right? Yeah, there we go. LinkedIn is a powerful resource for identifying professionals within a company, including the CFO, to conduct a successful search. Use the company's name as a keyword. Filter results by job titles such as CFO, Chief Financial Officer, or Financial Executive. You must verify the profiles that have public endorsements or detailed career histories in that profile of search before you move on to step 5. Search news articles and press releases. CFOs are often mentioned in news articles, especially if they join a company, leave a role, or make a significant decision to find relevant information. Use search engines like Google. Include terms such as company name, CFO, or company name, Chief Financial Officer. Explore business news outlets such as Bloomberg, Reuters, or Forbes. Check the company's press release announcements, key hires, promotions. On step 6, leverage business databases. Online business databases and directories provide detailed profiles of companies and their key personnel. Consider using services like Hoover's, Crunchbase, ZoomInfo, PitchBook. That's just 4 of the many. Many platforms require subscription, but they offer in-depth insights, including contact information and professional background. Specific sources. If the company operates with a specific industry, there may be industry-specific databases or associations that list executive information. For example, healthcare companies may be listed in medical directories. Tech firms may appear in innovation-focused publications. Financial institutions may be featured in banking registries or investment reports. Industry-specific when you're researching, you must keep it industry specific so the resources can be more targeted and give you a more targeted approach. Step 8, contact the company directly. If other methods fail, consider reaching out to the company directly. Use the following tips. Call or email the general inquiries or corporate communications department. Politely request the name of the CFO. Explain the your inquiry. Avoid asking for personal contact details unless necessary and ethical. Bear in mind that companies may have policies limiting the disclosure of employees' information. Step 9, utilize social media. Social media platforms like X, formerly known as Twitter, can occasionally provide insights into the company's leadership. Executives may have public accounts where they share about their role. Follow the company's official accounts for announcements and updates on social media. Step 10, verify the information. Once you believe you have located the CFO of the company, verify the accuracy of the information before using it. Cross-check details across multiple sources to confirm. The things that you want to confirm is the individual's name and title, current employment status, any public records or affiliations. In the information, if the information is being used for official purposes. Ethical considerations. When searching for a CFO of a company, remember to remain respectful and ethical. Avoid intruding on personal privacy, using the information for unsolicited marketing or harassment, misrepresenting your intentions. Always ensure your actions align with privacy laws and ethical standards. Locating the CFO of a company can be a straightforward process if you use the right tools and resources. From official websites and regulatory filings to professional networks and business databases, there are numerous avenues to explore. Remember to approach the search with integrity and verify all information before proceeding. Whether for academic research, business collaboration, or networking, finding the CFO can open doors to valuable insights and opportunities. Understanding that you got to do some research. Okay? You want that first coupon method to hit the chief financial officer's desk. All right? So what's the best way to do is to know the chief financial officer the best way you can through research and verified data through that research. There's enough of it out there for you to do that. People, they've been doing it to us for a long time now. Into actually the 3-part posting for the UCC code itself. Okay. Via telephone, Joe and I and Kaz and others are, willingly taking calls to help people get overstanding and get their understanding moving forward. With that being said, Sheepdog, I yield, buddy.
All right. Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you showing up tonight, doing this with us. I know you're hurting. And I like it when you're on the show with me versus me on the show by myself. It's a little different. I'm not used to it.
Right.
I feel like I'm talking to a wall.
Right.
But appreciate you coming on with us tonight. We're going to get into... We might get into the Trump surveillance plan for all Americans using AI tech billionaire Peter Thiel's Palantir. But first, we're going to get into some stuff taking place here in Texas. Of course, We're going to show you some politicians trying to play pretty much dictators that violate the Constitution. Here in Texas, we got freedom of religion, right? And to practice however we see fit. But we have politicians that think that they can trample on the rights of our children, which I don't appreciate. And then when they're asked questions about the Ten Commandments, they've never read it. It's only in the bill. So we got a bunch of hypocrites, and we're going to listen to some questioning here.
This guy's a preacher, right?
Yeah, this guy's a preacher.
He's also a politician.
Or he's going to seminary school or seaman school. I'm going to put the captions on for you. But we're going to check this out real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. What this does is it opens the door for all kinds of shit. If you're okay with the Ten Commandments, then you better be okay with the Quran and every other religious text is to go on the walls in your children's schoolroom where it doesn't belong.
Lady yields. Thank you, Representative Noble. What is the fourth commandment?
Are you referring to my to the way it's?
So she can't even answer the question right off the bat. As you can see, even the guy next to her has to tell her what it is. But this is the lady that brought this bill forward to put the Ten Commandments up in every classroom. Hold on, guys. What was that? Is somebody knocking? Hold on, guys. Let me see what's going on here. Give me 1 second. My dogs are barking. All right, let's get back into it. Here we go. Ten Commandments. Don't get offended. Some of you are going to get offended. That's okay. Here we go.
Does the gentlelady yield for some questions? The lady yield for questions. The lady yields. Thank you, Representative Noble. What is the fourth commandment?
Are you referring to my to the way it's written in the bill?
Yes.
Okay, right. Keep the Sabbath. It's about us being here on Saturday. Is that ironic or what?
Yeah, it's ironic that you're passing a bill and you're working on a Saturday.
So what does it mean to keep the Sabbath holy?
Well, I think it's, you want to get into theology here? I'd love to, if you'd like to. I think it's really important that we take a day of rest. I think God, who founded the world, didn't need rest, and yet he took a day of rest after he did creation. And I think he was a good example to us to take a day of rest. And that is enshrined in our rules, in our Constitution, where it says accepting Sunday in our very early documents as a nation.
And so part of keeping the Sabbath holy is not working on the Sabbath?
That is yeah.
And what is the Ten Commandments come from Judaism? What day is the Jewish Sabbath?
It is on Saturday.
And what day is it today?
It is Saturday. Here we are.
The Christian Sabbath is what day?
Sunday, in honor of the day that Jesus rose from the dead.
And we're scheduled to give this bill a final vote on what day of the week?
It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Would you be willing to postpone your bill so that we're not breaking the Ten Commandments by working on the Jewish or Christian Sabbath?
I love that you said that, because if we had not had your point of order the other day, we would have actually already completed that.
And so, Representative Noble, you're saying that you'd rather tell people to follow the Ten Commandments than follow it yourself?
I would have rather have had this bill passed the other day when it was time. And that's really sad that we are under such a crunch in time now with the end of session. Our Texas forefathers only gave us 160 days to pass bills, and that's where we are in this session.
We as a legislature,
140. Correction.
We as a legislature are about to force every teacher in the state to post the 10 Commandments in their classrooms.
If
Do
they are
members
donated.
of the Texas legislature follow the 10 Commandments?
Is that about the bill?
Your bill is about the 10 Commandments.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
asking, do members of this legislature follow the 10 Commandments?
So again, this bill is about honoring our historical, educational, and judicial heritage with the displaying of the 10 Commandments.
The 9th commandment is thou shalt not bear false witness. Are you aware of any legislators who have lied about anything?
Yeah.
That is,
Uh,
there might be one coming up in a minute. If you keep talking, we'll see.
The 7th commandment is thou shalt not commit adultery.
Yes.
Do you think that members of the legislature should focus more on trying to follow the 10 Commandments rather than telling others to follow them?
I am, it is incumbent on all of us to follow God's law, and I think that we would be better off if we did.
That's a great segue to my next question, which is, do you think our public schools are missing God?
Again, we are talking about historically what our founding fathers believed. I have a lot of quotes from our founding fathers if you want me to go there, and I would love to do that if you would like me to.
Well, you just mentioned God's law, so I was just asking if you think our public schools are missing God's law.
In some instances, yeah, I would not. I think that there's some amazing teachers out there that are showing an awful lot of Christian behavior and love and concern to their students. So I'm not going to paint that broad of a brush like you just did.
Do you think that seeing the 10 Commandments in the classroom might make a student feel closer to God?
Again, that is not the focus of this bill. The focus of this bill is to look at what is historically important to our nation, both educationally and judicially. But if you would like to look through some of those textbooks that are on my desk, you will see the foundation that our forefathers used when they learned to read and write.
In the committee hearing for this bill, you said that students should see the 10 Commandments in their classroom and remember, quote, God is watching. Is that correct?
What?
In the committee hearing for this bill, you said that students should see the 10 Commandments in their classroom and remember, quote, God is watching.
I do not recall that.
You said it in response to a question from Representative Bryant in the Public Education Committee. You don't recall that?
No, obviously you do, though. That was like 4:30 in the morning.
Okay.
We were all pretty sleep deprived. I don't remember in what response that was, if indeed that was a response. I do, however, believe.
The lady's time has expired.
and that is it. Kind of crazy, right? Maybe not for some of you. Some of you are okay with that, but that is in direct violation of the Texas State Constitution. We're going to get into the 10 Commandments. We'll look at them right here. You shall not have other gods before me. 1. You shall not make idols. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. And like he discussed here, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Yet they were at work trying to pass a bill on a Saturday. Honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery, which we know from the president all the way down, they're in violation of that. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor, and you shall not covet just the ones. Hold on one second. I'm going to go into. Y'all aware of the Trump surveillance plan? Palantir. Do I need to go over this? The plan for all Americans using AI. Everybody's aware of this. This was on Fox and CNN, right? ABC, NBC. They talking about this? So we'll leave that shit show alone for a minute. And we will go into, we're going to cover the Texas Constitution here in a minute, show you the violations there.
Right around and handed multi-billion-dollar
Here we go. Here's a vet. He's got something to say. So we're going to play it.
They let my battle buddies die for oil and then gave our killers government contracts. That's the truth, ain't it? You don't.
Peter Thiel, Palantir, government contract. They were using that Palantir. Go look it up. To murder people. To surveil. Drones. Etc. Etc.
They let my battle buddies die for oil and then gave our killers government contracts. That's the truth, ain't it? You don't gotta sugarcoat genocide to call it war. The same bastards who sent us over there with lies in their teeth turned right around and handed multi-billion-dollar contract deals to the same private mercs and warlords that were killing us. Blackwater got rich, Raytheon got richer, Halliburton raked it in while we were getting our legs blown off by bombs with parts we sold them. The road to fascism is paved with bipartisan smiles, drone strikes, and food stamps that don't stretch past the 20th. Don't tell me this is freedom. This ain't freedom. This is corporate authoritarianism with a smiley face sticker slapped on the gas pump. In 2024, 60% of Americans lived paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, Lockheed Martin posted over $67 billion in revenue. You got billionaires racing to Mars while folks on Earth are drinking lead water. You got prisons making license plates for pennies while Congress takes bribes dressed up as campaign donations. The Democrats throw rainbow flags on bombs and the GOP throws Bibles at poor folks. But both parties kneel to Wall Street with the same posture, bent over. It ain't about left or right. It's about up and down. They're up. We're crushed. Huey P. Newton said, the revolution has always been in the hands of the young. The young always inherit the revolution. You hear that? That's not just a call. That's a warning. The kids are growing up broke, queer, medicated, and pissed off, and they know it's rigged. Meanwhile, 2025 America's got over 580,000 folks sleeping on the streets, but there's 11 million vacant homes. Do that math. That's not a crisis. That is choice. They built this cage and told us it was a cradle, told us to wave flags before we learned to question why we were starving. If you ain't angry, you ain't paying attention. If you still believe voting blue will save us, you've been sleeping through the fire alarm. We don't need reform, we need rupture. You ever see a nation bomb weddings in Yemen, then tell you there's no money for insulin? You ever see a cop shoot a kid and get a pension? You ever bury a friend who OD'd because the rehab had a wait list, but a prison didn't? This whole thing is corrupt. We gotta tear it down because no savior's coming, no president's fixing it, ain't no boot gonna loosen itself. You gotta bite it, tear it, rip it, spit out the laces. And if you're scared of what comes after, good. That means you're awake. This system doesn't break. It feeds on the breaking. It chews up the wounded, calls them lazy, and sells their bones for profit. Revolution is not chaos, it's correction. They let my battle buddies die for oil, and then
Y'all hear that? 5x5.
you ever hear me say my pleasure when someone hits me?
Sing it, brother. Sing it. Sing it.
That ain't pride. That's bitterness dressed in polite sarcasm. You ever hear me say my pleasure when someone hits me with thank you for your service? That ain't pride. That's bitterness dressed in polite sarcasm. It was my pleasure to be chewed up by a machine that spits out the broken and buries the rest. Pleasure to carry around a head full of smoke and blood while the country I fought for argues whether I deserve housing or health care. I say it with a grin because the alternative is screaming in public, and people don't like that kind of honesty. They throw thank yous like band-aids over bullet wounds, pretend the gesture covers the reality. Nobody wants to talk about how we were used to murder innocent brown folks under the banner of freedom. Nobody sticks around to watch soldiers come home only to slowly fall apart. I watch strong people turn hollow, crushed by PTSD, chewed up by addiction, stripped of purpose, sleeping under overpasses. That's the cost nobody counts. That's the aftermath they don't film. It was my pleasure to be a tool, a blunt force instrument for empire. The second I stopped being useful, they dropped me. When I needed help, they gave me paperwork. When I begged for care, they handed me pills and a pamphlet. You know what happens when you check into the psych ward as a vet? You lose your kid. Your life gets flagged. You get punished for trying to survive. I look high functioning, right? High functioning to people. Got all my limbs. I speak clearly. I can crack a joke, but the war lives in my head. I'm not fine. I'm not okay. I'm dragging myself through every day like I've got barbed wire wrapped around my brain. I fight my own mind like it's a hostile enemy. 24 hours a day, no sleep, no relief. That's what disability looks like when the damage ain't visible. They don't tell you that in basic training. No one mentions that 1.3 million veterans live with a service-connected disability, or that we're 57% more likely to die by suicide than our civilian peers. They don't talk about the 35,000 plus vets sleeping on sidewalks, or that most of us, the lucky ones, are just quietly unraveling behind closed doors. I say my pleasure because it shuts the conversation down. Because if I told the truth that I was used, broken, and now feel like I'm dying in slow motion, people look away. Hollywood version, not the one where I cried in my car at the pharmacy because I couldn't remember why I was there. Albert Parsons, a soldier turned revolutionary, said, "Let your love for justice be greater than your fear of the law." I hold on to that because everything else they promised me was a lie. I don't believe in this system anymore. I don't salute the flag. I don't trust the red, white, and blue bumper sticker brigade, but I do believe in truth. I believe in fighting back. So yeah, my pleasure. But ask again when you're ready for the truth. And when you are, I'll give it to you raw. No filter, no fake smile, no flag. Have you ever looked around and asked yourself why this country, this so-called land of the free, feels more like a prison?
Mike, did you say something? Hello?
No, sir. I can tell you that I'm hanging on each and every word this gentleman is spitting. I'm telling you, he just let it go, sheepdog. Let it play, brother. I love it.
All right.
Have you ever looked around and asked yourself why this country, this so-called land of the free, feels more like a prison with a flag on it? Why everything's getting worse, no matter who the hell is in charge? Two parties, same result. We suffer, they cash out. One throws Bibles and guns at your face while they cut your benefits. The other paints bombs in rainbow colors and calls it progress. They argue on TV while shaking hands behind closed doors, all the while laughing at us, starving us, locking us up, killing us while we beg for scraps. You think this is new? Hell no, it ain't. This has always been the game. Every time people fight back, really fight back, not vote, Not beg, not tweet, but organize, revolt, strike. They're demonized, jailed, or dead. That's not an accident. That is America. The abolitionists, they were called radicals, terrorists. Most white folks in this country didn't even want slavery to end. They profited from it. It was black folks escaping bondage and white comrades burning down laws and risking the noose that pushed the needle. Not the politicians, not the courts, the people. And what changed? Slavery just got renamed. It's called prison now. Legalized slavery under the 13th Amendment. And both parties are just fine with that. Biden wrote the damn crime bill. Trump expanded ICE. Who's the good guy? Neither. MLK, y'all love to quote the dream, but ignore how he died. The FBI tried to push him into suicide. He had a 30% approval rating when he was murdered. He was marching against capitalism and imperial war when they decided he was too dangerous to live. Fred Hampton, executed by the state at 21 years old for feeding children and preaching unity. Malcolm X, shot down while calling out both white supremacy and capitalism. Angela Davis, labeled a terrorist for standing up to state violence. Assata Shakur had to flee to Cuba to stay alive. That's who the state targets. People who mean it. Meanwhile, we've got over 770,000 people homeless in 2025, while 18 million homes sit empty. Got people dying from insulin rationing while Big Pharma swims in blood money. Amazon workers piss in bottles while Bezos builds rockets. They send over $1 trillion a year to the Pentagon, but tell you there's no money for school lunches, healthcare, or housing. No money for the people, just bullets, bombs, and billionaires. And when folks rise up, boom, militarized cops and tanks. They've killed over 1,200 people a year, every single year, and we just accept it? Don't talk to me about bad apples. The whole orchard is rotten and laced with taxpayer-funded AR-15s. They don't serve and protect. They hunt the poor, the mentally ill, the black, the brown, the queer, the loud, the angry, the organizers. They fear unity. That's the one thing that's always scared the hell out of them. When white coal miners and black sharecroppers came together, they sent in the troops. When the Panthers armed their neighborhoods and fed their own, they sent in the FBI. When striking workers shut down factories, they called it un-American. Because they know the minute we stop waiting for permission, the minute we turn to each other instead of their rigged system, they lose everything. That's what revolution looks like. It's not neat. It's not polite. It doesn't wear a suit or beg a senator. It feeds the people. It protects people. And it refuses to be tamed. Like Assata Shakur said, nobody in the world, nobody in history has ever gotten their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who were oppressing them. So what now? You organize, you mobilize, you resist. Stop begging the system to save you. It is built to break you. Build power from the bottom. Feed your neighbors, defend your communities, unionize your workplaces, disrupt their comfort. Make solidarity more than just a slogan. Be ungovernable. Be relentless. And don't wait for the right moment. This is the moment. We are the leaders we've been waiting for. It's wild how fast folks throw labels on you when you start telling the truth. I opened my mouth about how the Democrats sold us out, how they bailed out Wall Street but not Main Street, how they funded genocide in Gaza, how they let child poverty double after slashing the expanded tax credit. And suddenly I'm a Trump supporter? Like holding powerful people accountable makes me MAGA now. Then I pivot. Call Trump what he is, a fascist demagogue back in power, pardoning crooks, pushing nationalist garbage, gutting what little rights we have left, and boom, now I'm a liberal, woke, some kind of left-wing boogeyman. You see what that is, right? That's not just confusion, that's indoctrination. That's how deep the rot goes. They don't want people thinking outside the box, the party box, red versus blue, Pepsi versus Coke. Same poison. While they fight over slogans and blame each other, over 770,000 people sleep on the damn streets. 18 million homes sit empty. We got billionaires launching vanity rockets while folks are skipping meals, rationing insulin, and begging GoFundMe to keep their kids alive. This ain't politics. This is economic violence. It's war on the working class, and both parties signed the declaration. And the second you start connecting the dots, calling it what it is, people get scared because truth hits harder than any propaganda. But desperate people don't fight back. Angry people do. And I'm not desperate anymore. I am furious. This country will break your back, drain your wallet, crush your spirit, and then blame you for not trying hard enough. Veterans come home broken, and instead of help, we get pills and silence. The VA's underfunded, the housing system's a joke, and mental health care is a maze with no exit. But there's always money for bombs, for prisons, for cops with tanks. Both parties feed the same beast. They want us too busy surviving to ask why we're the richest country in the world and still living paycheck to paycheck. They want us pointing fingers sideways instead of up. As Angela Davis said, I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. That's the energy. That's the line in the sand. I'm not here to make friends with power. I'm here to rip the mask off and show people the system ain't broken. It's working exactly how it was built to. I don't care what letter you put next to your name. If you're defending this mess, you're a part of the problem. We've been taught to settle for scraps and call it democracy. I say, hell no. No more crumbs, no more silence. You want change? Then get angry. Because the folks at the top ain't scared of the desperate. They're scared of the organized, the loud, the fearless. And I'm damn well going to be one of them.
Think about that. You're going to like this one.
How's it going, TikTok? How's everybody's day going? Well, I keep seeing quite a few people posting, wait till you find out who I am, and they don't say who they are or nothing. But I'm going to give y'all a little rundown of who I am. I'm a pissed off American. You know, I just recently stepped down to sergeant from Patriots for America militia. You rescue children from sex trafficking. The last 3.5 years or so, we did ops along the southern border and operations over in Mexico. That's some sad shit going on with the trafficking of these children. And there's other stuff in the works where I felt I was being pulled to. And I didn't like where that was going. So now here I am, making a stand, trying to call these motherfucking bootlickers out. It's our duty as American people to stand on business. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make a voice for people that don't have one. I'm here to mix up people's emotions and get them to start standing on business like they should. Things ain't going to happen overnight. But the more and more Americans that stand up and speak out on all this corruption, all this treason, crimes against humanity, we have to do everything that we can possibly think of to make a difference before picking up arms. That's always the last result. Things can be done peacefully, in which how it should be. But if you go through every channel, do everything lawfully, and the system still doesn't work for the people, which it should, then you have to go down that last option. But that has to be the very last. really fucked up what's going on once you start finding shit out. But man, start opening y'all's mind. Don't be closed-minded. When you think, oh, that shit won't happen here, you damn sure better believe that will happen here. Start following people. Start following these truthers. You know, people have some shit to say. People want to look at truthers like they're crazy. The crazy ones are the ones that don't want to believe shit's really going on. The crazy ones are the ones that believe a certain side is doing the right thing. Nobody's doing the right thing in the system. None of them. And if the system isn't working for the people, the system has to go. And that's true shit. This is a revolution, baby. Better start realizing it and make a stand. You have a good day, TikTok.
So got one more. I don't know if y'all know this guy right here.
Hello.
Anybody know?
Hey, I just wanted to say I'm a compassionate person with a lot of love. And the thing is to a certain extent, because if I told you, like, hey, don't go over there, dude, because you're gonna like step on a nail. You know, there's some shit over there, and people get hurt every day stepping on nails. So don't go over there, because you're gonna step on a nail. You know. Now, if you go over there and step on a nail, I don't have any more compassion. Like, I told you not to, right? And the same thing goes with my buddy with the chemotherapy. You know, I love the guy. He's a best friend since 1993. Cool dude. But, you know, I told him, don't be doing that chemo. Don't do it. You know, so I had compassion and love, and I said, don't do it. So he was doing this shit, and then one day he walked in and didn't walk out. So my compassion went out the door. I mean, I love him and stuff, but it's like, hey, bro, you know, he can't talk to me, but he can listen for once. And I said, you know, do you wish you probably wouldn't have did that, huh? And he's like, shook his head, yeah. And, you know, I don't want to say I told you so. But the thing is, I don't have compassion for him because I told you so, I guess. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm saying shit wrong, but it's like I still love him. I'll go visit him and do things, but that's my one thing about compassion, you know. Now, if he had cancer, you know, tried a little bit of the protocol and soft side effects and decided that, you know, hey, this is not working. Let's raise the alkalinity. Let's do some turkey tail. Let's do some baking soda. Let's, you know, do other grounding. Let's do the stuff that we know how to do. And then he was like this. Then my compassion would be right there. I would, you know, but since you allowed a doctor to basically kill you or make you not walk and talk, my compassion kind of went out the door. I mean, I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to share. God bless. Excuse me. Father bless.
That's kind of what I'm dealing with my mom. You try to help her out, tell her what's up. And she says, son, you're not a doctor. So that was it right there. So the compassion goes out the door. You know, she doesn't want to make the correction and make the change. And she wants to trust a doctor over her son. You know, that's it. There's nothing you could do to help him. So I can relate to the cheating video here because that's what I'm dealing with right now. I don't talk about my personal life, but that's what I'm dealing with, watching my mom die because of the big pharma and these doctors. And there's nothing I could do. I've tried to help her and have her take things, and she's just indoctrinated. Her son's not a doctor, so compassion goes out the door. I still love her, but I've already prepared myself for what's to come. And I did my best to try to save her. So I can relate with the cheating. Some people just don't want to listen. You know, everybody has their own destiny. And there's nothing you can do to change that. I appreciate you making that video. That really hit home for me. So I shared a bunch of videos in a row to let you know what time it is. and you're going to do it peacefully. If that doesn't work, then it's going to be expediently. So I shared the 10 Commandments. That opens up a door. You violate the children's rights. You violate the other parents' rights. You want to push your religion on people. Well, don't be upset when other religions get pushed on your kids, ones that you don't approve of. Then we have a bunch of hypocritical politicians can't even recite the 10 Commandments off the top of their head. They got to look in the bill. Then you're hypocrites working on a Saturday, not even keeping the Sabbath. And then you're going to pass the bill on a Sunday, again, breaking both. And the adultery part, I mean, we got a lot to look at. I think we need to start. If you're going to push it on somebody, we ourselves need to be able to be walking that walk ourselves.
They need to, you need to keep it yourself.
So that's why I brought that, as you're trying to push things on kids.
People who live in glass houses don't throw rocks.
Right.
Yeah, you're trying to push this on kids when the adults themselves aren't even keeping it. That was the point, not to attack anybody, but to have people understand what's taking place and respecting each other. And
It seems like they're just trying to create more division by doing that. Because people are going to get upset about that, right?
So she said it. She thinks it's going to. I don't know if y'all can hear her. She said that she thinks they're doing this to cause more division, to distract, because it's just going to cause more issues, especially when you have Christians that can't even stand anything outside of their own religion and respect it. You have the Quran. How would you feel? The Talmud or the Torah,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
If they put that next to the 10 Commandments, because I guess you'd have to, freedom of religion. I don't even know if that can go in a government building funded by the government.
Right. So I want to go right here real quick. And we're going to look at the Texas Constitution, like I promised. 1 second, Mike. I got to read this so people can see. 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
You're all good, buddy.
We're going to do, so y'all can understand what I'm talking about. It's nothing personal, guys. But you're going to have problems with other students, and it's just going to cause all kinds of shitstorm. And we got bigger things to be focused on. Religious test. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification in the okay. That's for freedom of worship. Section 6, Texas Constitution. All men have a natural and the feasible right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own consciousness. No man shall be compelled to attend, erect, or support any place of worship, or to maintain any ministry against his consent. No human authority ought, in any case, whatever, to control or interfere with the rights of conscience in matters of religion, and no preference shall ever be given by law to any religious society or mode of worship, but it shall be the duty of the legislator to pass such laws as be necessary to protect equally every religious denomination in the peaceable enjoyment of its own mode of public worship. This one is called Religious Service Protections. So, religious service protection, section 6A. This state or a political subdivision of this state may not erect, adopt, or issue a statute, order, proclamation, decision, or rule that prohibits or limits religious services, including religious services conducted in churches, congregations, and places of worship in this state by a religious organization established to support and serve the propagation of a sincerely held religious belief. Do not fulfill. This is the habeas corpus which shall never be suspended. Of course, we're not going to go there right now. But so I just want to go down a second. That's crimes of victims, marriage, right to hunt, fish, and harvest wildlife. And it also talks about there shall be no national religion, right? No certain one that supersedes any other one. But if you also go to the U.S. Constitution, you can see it as well. We'll type in it. Hell, I got it right here in front of me. But I don't have it pulled up. Let me see. Right now, freedom of religion, right? Freedom of religion, section 1, article 1, all legislate. Hold on. House of Representatives. Go to. I don't know how to work this one. See teaching resources. First Amendment. First Amendment is where's it at? On here. I don't know this one. I tried to pull it up real quick. Let me go right here. I did. Is that the one I used? Right here. Freedom of religion. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. United States Constitution, First Amendment. Freedom, religious freedom thus comes from the Establishment Clause, which says the government will not choose an official religion. It will support. And the Free Exercise Clause, which says that the government will not interfere with an individual's religious practices. I want to point out right here, it says which says the government will not choose an official religion. So when people say this is a Christian nation, that's not right. It's unconstitutional. It doesn't go. That's not what our founding fathers had first set up. So when they say our founding fathers, bullshit. Which says the government will not choose an official religion it will support. So that's your First Amendment, freedom of religion. It's one of the clauses in there. So I just want to point that out. So we have to respect each other's beliefs and freedom to worship in our own conscience. You can't be forcing your religion down someone else's throat because you wouldn't like it. You don't like it when someone else does it to you. I hear a lot about Islam and this psyop with Sharia law and all this fear porn shit. And you don't like it, but you want to do the same thing as they do. So you're just a hypocrite. You're doing the same thing, except in the Christian side of it. So I just wanted to point that out. What's keeping us from coming together is this back and forth. And you say the forefathers this and you want to say forefathers that, but in reality, you're not reading what the forefathers wrote, if that's how you want to look at it, via the Constitution, Texas.
Well, not to mention that the forefathers that we have in history aren't the ones we have in heritage.
Right. I'm just going off of just where we're at right now with what people are.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
that's a whole other topic, but just based on what we're doing right now, what people can relate to, because
right on.
So
right on.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm doing it.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
Yeah. So that's it. That's what keeps us divided and keeps everybody from coming together. It's just back and forth. Everybody thinks that their religion's is the one, and everybody should bow at their feet and do this, that, and the other. And that's not how this country was set up. And it definitely has nothing to do with freedom when you try to force feed somebody Islam or Christianity or whatever your religion is. That's all. So the quicker that we can understand that and respect each other's rights and beliefs, the better off we'll be looking forward. But if y'all want to turn this into
I agree.
We turn this into a religious war, you're going to have problems. Your military does all that.
Absolutely. Does it through the church. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing in Gaza. That's what we're seeing in Iraq, Afghanistan. It was all just religious wars, land grabs. More people died because of religion than anything else in the planet. That's all I got.
Sheepdog, I thank you, man. Good message tonight as well. We're going to turn it over to Rod and Dr. G now. Great hour and 24 minutes for us. I do believe, folks, it's being recorded, so the replays will be available. Enjoy Dr. G and Rod, Chief Pontiac Rod Hayes.
See, most of us don't know that the government declared war on the people. And most of the tribes, like 80% of them, when you translate the language that they were speaking into English, the name of the tribe mean the people.
What do you mean, the name?
On the land.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the tribes refer to themselves as the people in their respective language. Some of them refer to themselves as kinfolks in the respective language. But it's pretty much the same thing. We the people comes from the Continental Congress. It don't come from the Civil War or the rebellion against Britain. Britain colonized the word and the usage. Think by like the word conspiracy. Conspiracy just means two or more people came together and made a plan. That's it. That's all it means. It don't mean nothing else. But when they get done conspiracy theory, when they hit you with the theory part, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. Now they didn't demonize it because I was also a part of the MK Ultra program. But we don't know that because most of us ain't never read the MK Ultra files. Sometimes I wish I had never read it.
Historically, like you said, they have declared war on the people. We may not know all of the things that happened, 200 years ago, but it's come up into, the 60s and the 70s and stuff. We talk about the Black Panther Party, was it SNCC, CORE, Nation of Islam, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, all of the, MOVE in Philadelphia, those types of organizations that rose up to be more help, if you will, self-help groups to help ourselves and do for ourselves became the targets of, you know, the system, like you said, that, like, speaking of war, they said we're doing a war on drugs. And I remember writing a piece in the 90s they're doing a war with drugs, not on drugs. They weren't warring on drugs. They were using drugs to war against our people for the most part, largely. Now, of course, some of them got caught up, you know, just the collateral damage, but the war wasn't on drugs. It was with drugs. You agree?
DEA. Remember what it stand for? Drug Enforcement Agency.
Right.
What they enforcing? Try it in the title.
Drugs.
Iran-Contra, the highest elected officials on the land, president, vice president, and a couple of generals, Oliver, they all got caught red-handed shipping tons of cocaine into the country. The government is supposed to not supposed to be able to create a crime and punish you for it.
True.
But they're creating the crime and then they're punishing you for it. Then when you try to do something good, they take it and say, look what we did. The Panthers came out with the program that became WIC. It was brothers that came out with the ambulance service. We had no ambulance service. We couldn't get to the hospital in a timely manner.
I heard you say that on another show, and I did not know that. Just, you know, I absolutely didn't know that.
We didn't have no, when they was busting us in the head and sicking dogs on us, we didn't have no EMTs. We didn't have no ambulance, no EMT. The fire department wasn't doing that. They was getting cats out of trees. But nobody taking care and tending us when they was beating us out of here with clubs and putting us in the chokehold and shooting us in the back. Wasn't nobody coming to get us. We had to figure it out. Then once we did it, they repurposed it and put all pale faces in it and say, see, look what we did. We made it where y'all can get to the hospital in a timely manner with some medical assistance on the way. They had breakfast at school until the Panthers came along. And oops, that wasn't common. It was very uncommon. Like all our people was doing, like holistic living. They're in Africa. He was reminding us about holistic living. That's why he had to go. And then what they do, turn around and monetize it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We had holistic doctors. They came out in the medical field with something called a naturopathic physician. Same thing. It's the same thing. They do and monetize it so they can make money off of it. And then they act like they're the only ones that was doing it. They telling you that Henry Ford was a factory of cars being produced in the late 1800s. But he didn't get the credit because he didn't have the backing of the system. We go back to that systems word again.
Right.
The system is responsible for every failure that we appear to have. We just don't know we don't miss because they keep stepping on us. And then once we do something, they take it and turn around and do it. If you read Behold a Pale Horse, the story of Jonathan Mays, where they got gross domestic product. They didn't know nothing about using the resources other than gold and silver to money. They don't know nothing about that. But when they caught him doing it, they said for 25 years, turn around and did it. Then they got a guy named,
was it that started that they?
His name was Jonathan May. He was a farmer. And he would ascribe value to the stuff on his farm, and then he would use it as leverage to, barter and trade, lend and borrow. Just like Social Security came from Ponzi. Remember the good old Ponzi scheme?
Right.
That's Social Security.
That's right, because what they basically are doing is the earlier ones in get the benefits, and they hoping that they die off before they siphon it all. And the new ones have to keep coming in to feed the system for future stuff that they've already promised to pay out that they don't have. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. The whole thing about Social Security is in year one, you have 100,000 people paying in the Social Security at all age levels, right? It don't activate for 5 years. Then whenever it activate, now them same people that started it, about 30% of them gone. By the time you get to 62 years old, it's only a handful of them left. Right? It's just the great old American kind. But if you don't know kind games, they'll trick you every time into thinking they're doing something that you wasn't already doing. Everything that Thanksgiving was a tribal holiday over here. We was a celebration, right? But Black Friday, they slaughtered us because we've been invited the settlers to dinner, and contrary to popular opinion, they wasn't pale faces. Pale faces don't start coming over here until the late 1700s, early 1800s. Before that, we were fighting some people that looked like us. And they whitewashed the history to make all of the people that we was fighting didn't look like us. But we got historians that wrote about Black conquistadors and Black Huguenot gentry making the Black hand, the Black nobility, the secret power behind the Pope, the usurpers of the sacerdotal seat of the Great Mother. It's all in the books.
But again, we don't.
Yeah, but that's why they put it in the books. See, the preachers used to tell us when the AME church first started, but then somewhere along the line, they got sidetracked.
They
forgot we wasn't never supposed to believe that dogma.
Listen, they got that follow this.
You don't follow the script. You don't pay. Hey, look, you don't pay the piper. You don't listen to the tune.
That's right.
You know, so I don't care which religion it is. They all under the same banner.
True.
It's only 3 religions. Everything else is systems. Buddhism is systems. Jainism is system. The Tao is a system. All of those are systems of awakening. That's why they didn't ever want us studying that stuff. Because then we're going to see remnants of our ancient past surfacing in foreign places. Because we used to be a global civilization. To divide and conquer setting in.
Right. Speaking of global, Chief, and I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but my brain, I'll forget. I want to say something and then I'll forget it. But I saw a TikTok video the other day, and I don't know if any of y'all out there have seen this. If you saw this, it was a group Pakistan. They were about 4 or 5 men from India, Pakistan, something like this, and they appeared to be either in Mexico or at the border between Mexico and the United States. And because the voice of the person that was interviewing and the woman that was interviewing them sound, just regular American sounding. She asked them where they came from, and they said they had walked. They had been walking, and they had been walking all day and all day. And she said, you flew into Mexico and now you've been walking. And they said, no, we walked from where we live. She said, well, where do you live? One guy was Pakistan, and some of them were Pakistan and some were saying India. Well, the point I want to make is they had walked from there to Mexico. They didn't get on a plane. They didn't get on a boat. They didn't say they swam across the Indian Ocean. They walked and made it into Mexico from Pakistan and India without encountering water, and walked. They walked. And they have been walking. They said, we've been walking all day. How is that possible? I mean, I know how it may be possible because I know they lied, but
I know so in Tibet, you have ancient temples with portals to get back over here. And if they went to one of the portals, something look like they walking in a cave. When they come out the other side, they over here. But it's a portal. It's a just like on Stargate when they put in the code and it shifted to the channel in order to get you to one.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones on Earth is preset. They in Arizona, they in Cairo, they in Tibet, Machu Picchu. It's a whole bunch of places that have these ancient portal gates, right? And most of them are militarily guarded. So whoever led them through the gate knew they was going through the gate. It's not a secret to the people that was watching the gate. They just let them go.
Well, they didn't say they went through a gate or anything. They just kept saying, "Well, we walked like we're walking."
But walking, you see a mountain, right? We could climb the mountain, go around the mountain, or we could go through this tunnel in the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go through the tunnel, you're going through a Stargate. You come out the other side of the tunnel, you somewhere else. On a whole nother part of the planet.
So that you're saying you're saying that it's not that they're, geographically closer than what we think, although I do think things are closer geographically than we've been told. I believe the maps are distorted. I believe that they make they say it's upside down, and they try to make the United States a little bit larger their countries to give it some air of superiority just from a visuals. So is it possible that every part of the earth, the known earth, is connected at some point, that there's the places where you don't actually have to cross water or go air? Is it possible that there's still landmass connections that we don't know about?
Well, a couple years ago in the Pacific, there was bodies of land rising from the ocean's floor. I don't know if they walked across that because they didn't encounter no water, or they probably not telling the whole story.
You know what they look like? They just look like the guys that they've been stopping at the border. They look like that. They didn't look like they were, scientists or somebody that was, discovered a time machine or a time warp. They just looked like people, and they were like, we walked. We walked, and they kept saying, you flew in and then you walked. No, we walked all the way from practice.
Well, one thing about the era we in is the collective reality is shifting along with the awakening of the people, and people can go through stargates now, can pop up anywhere because we in the the spirit realm and the physical realm is like almost the same right now. It's just subtle differences.
Yeah.
Did you get to look at the video I showed you of that big orange thing in the sky?
I saw a little bit of it. You said that that might be the planet Nibiru.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Planet Nibiru is our secondary sun. We in a binary star system, but most of us is unaware of it because the elliptical orbit that second sun called Nibiru, Planet X, Rilo 7, the dark star. They got a whole bunch of names for it in science, so they don't call it Nibiru. But the planet of the crossing, all those names, but it's visible, right? At the close of the age, it's 3,600 year orbit,
mm-hmm.
Right? And this is the end of a 24,000 year cycle, right? So it's coming back in again at the close of the age. It's making this elliptic.
So, and again, when you say elliptical orbit, are you well, maybe you have an opinion on it. There's the flat earthers, it's a globe, there's a dome over a flat earth. The earth is going, like you said, elliptically instead of the way that it's not rotate. What do you, from your knowledge, from your understanding, what are we going?
I think everybody right. from different perspectives.
Okay.
Because when you look at the double slit experiment, the wave collapsing into the particle, if you see the infinite plane, you're looking at the waveform of uncreated potential. But when you see it as the torus field, you're looking at the particle now, which is the differentiated matter. Right? So it went from a wave to a particle, but it's on a massive scale. What they call in the firmament, it's the Van Allen belt. That's a lock to trap us all in here with the people we was fighting with. It's because the last ice age was caused by a nuclear holocaust. So the Pleiadians and Arcturians used two sciences of theirs, or conjures, or whatever you want to call it, and put us in a light lock. The light lock was only designed to last until the close of the age, when somebody gonna come out the winner at the end. The Earthborn or the ones that came. Sorry for the ones that came, but we done handed their ass to them.
So, when you talk about Earthborn versus the ones that came, you talk about, say, the Dogon. The Dogon talks about the star people that came to teach them, but
that's a whole different set of people.
But they were taught. What do they believe they were? And then the ones that seeded them came back to coach them and give them knowledge of the solar system and various things that they know that shouldn't know based on who, where they are technologically, allegedly, or what.
The Dogon say they come from Sirius B. You can't see Sirius B with the naked eye. What they call it in science, pontificating, making it up. Right. But when they got higher powered telescopes, and they was able to locate not only Sirius B, but also Sirius C. Right. And that's on the heels of the Orion constellation. It's called the Dog Star. And they had constant psychic communication with the people that brought him here.
Okay, that was what I was wondering. The ones that came were also the ones that seeded them or put them here originally, and then came back to along the way. They've been helping them develop or giving them knowledge.
Yeah, so they gave the Dogon the sciences that we would need at the close of the age. This is why the Dogon's sciences was only disseminated in the 1900s, but they've been had it for hundreds of years. Access to it as we get a certain distance from the close of the Piscean age and the dawning of the Aquarian age. And now, even Credo Mutwa, the Zulu Sanusi, a lot of his information used to only be passed down through the priests in secret. But getting close to the close of the age, he tell David Icke everything.
Oh, is that who he told? That's where David Icke got a lot of his information from.
That's one of his teachers, one of David Icke's teachers.
Ah, okay, I see.
Right. And so he able to use the information, and then he's able to find references because Credo Mutwa was able to give him such details that he can, it's like going on the computer doing a keyword search. It used to be the old computers, you used to be able to put a word on each side of your screen, and then it'll cross-reference the two words to come up with something. That feature off a long time ago.
Now they got AI, and so AI can delve into a lot of spaces that you couldn't easily get to get that knowledge. I know you always have to check for errors, and sometimes it's hard to check for errors when you didn't know what it was supposed to be anyway. But
anytime you ask AI a question, ask for the reference, he'll give them to you.
Okay.
The references, ChatGPT notorious for dropping references when you ask for them.
Okay. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah.
Where'd
So
that-
if you tell him to give you references, he'll tell you books, laws, or whatever it is that you looking for the reference. The AI can go get you the reference to the material that is answering for you.
Wow. So yeah, so that's basically, you know, like I said, dealing with some of the things that are going on now. And I'm glad you said what you said at the outset with regards to Trump, because you know, we get those two different stories with regards to Trump. And I remember seeing a TikTok video maybe last year with one of the former Panther. Well, he's a Panther. I don't think he's a former Panther. He's one of the original Panthers, talking about how Donald Trump had supported the Panther Party and financially and, you know, morally. You know, I know he lost a little street cred when he acted on that information regarding the
Central Park 5.
Central Park 5. But again, he, you know, if he trusted the media and the stuff that was going out, and he didn't, you know, do his own due diligence and so forth. But that should not erase all of the good that he did, and all of the folks that, you know, he showed up with, and who used to party with him, and all the rappers that loved him, and all of that. And then all of a sudden, because he apparently wasn't playing the game the way they wanted it played, you know, he couldn't. I mean, I'm sure they'd have a problem with him being a Republican versus a Democrat, but you're supposed to toe the line in either place. And I think he kind of walks in the middle. You know what I mean? He's not this, not that. He's just, you know, on a mission, and it's not taken well by either side sometimes.
Well, the thing is, why did he pick the Republican Party? Remember, he was a Democrat in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was running for office.
I would assume it's closer to restoring the republic, at least with the name, but not necessarily that the party is synonymous with that. You know, I don't know.
I'm on board the Republican Party.
You mean like the what is it? The elephant versus the
yeah.
Yeah.
Republican Party is the elephant.
Yeah.
What would you Ali tell us about the elephant?
I don't know.
He said our watchdog is an elephant.
Ah, okay.
Right. It's another one he got too. But the whole thing about what's the symbol of the matriarchy? The elephant.
Oh, the elephant. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
The elephant is the quintessential matriarchal clan.
The elephant is?
Yeah. Well, the male elephants don't even run with the herd. They stay off to the periphery. But the matriarch elephant can call them by stomping the ground. In the low rumbling hum, the males will come running in a rage.
Yeah. See, I'm just looking in the chat. I'm seeing where somebody's saying that he's a op. Don't trust him. I'm not sure who you're talking about. Are you talking about Trump, or are you talking about Chief? I don't know who you're talking about. I'm sorry. Just clarify. You know, because you don't know when people put, you know, he is a very generic term.
Yeah. Look,
do you have
my thing with Trump,
op or something like that, and have you ever questioned? You have to ask yourself, did I get cloned and I didn't know it, and I think I'm operating on it or doing what I'm doing out of the spirit of truth, and maybe I'm on some other tip, but I don't know it. I mean, when people have said things about me, you know, I know who I am, and I know I don't think I have any chips in me. I've had a couple surgeries for things, but I wasn't as vocal back then, so I don't see I would have gotten, you know. But you wonder how people can straight out define who somebody is and what their motivation is, just because they don't agree necessarily 100% with whatever they don't agree with about individuals.
Well, my thing is this: all skin folk ain't kin folk. Because somebody called me an op, they might be our ops.
Yeah, I don't know who they were talking about. It could be Trump, because we were talking about Trump, so it could be Trump. But yeah. So
yeah, but I have my
They said, I believe it's she said Trump. So okay, thank you.
Okay, so
I didn't know.
let me give you some clarification on my position on Trump. You know that gum that be stuck to the bottom of your shoe?
Yeah.
That's about as much as I care about Trump. It's the same about I care about that gum on the bottom of the shoe. But now, if I see him doing the work for the tribes, I'm going to tell people he's doing the work for the tribes. If I see him doing the work for foreigners, I'm going to tell the people he worked for us, he working for somebody else. See, it's certain stuff like Trump when he got the gold certificate from the Philippines that gave him authorization to return 650 cargo planes of gold that was held in the Vatican back to over here. Except they didn't put it in Fort Knox. They put it in Nevada in an underground bunker. Right? So us, whether we wanted to or not, we ain't never had nobody hold that seat, including Obama, that did stuff specifically to benefit us. He the only person in the history of that office that ever did anything that specifically benefit us over everybody else. Nobody else has done it. Ronald Reagan would have did it, but they had to put him on medication because George Herbert Walker Bush wanted him to appear to be incompetent, like Sleepy Joe. Right. So they told Nancy she stopped giving him these pills. He would catch another hot one.
Oh wow. So she had to keep him drugged and sort of incapacitated to save his life.
Yep. She wanted her husband. She was allowed to keep him. And they had a nurse there too. So I mean,
they probably
that old man Bush was the most wickedest man, and I can identify in the last 400 years of this history of this country.
But you know,
he was worse.
People don't talk a lot though about the Bush-Obama relationship that much. You know, they like, you know, they don't. They're like, okay, Bush is a Republican.
They don't talk about the Bush-Clinton relationship either.
Right. You're right. But the reason why, with Obama growing up, and he was like his godfather. You know, from what I've read and research, and you know, his father or stepfather worked for Bush in the CIA, and you know, may have allegedly had something to do with what happened in Dealey Plaza. You know what I mean? So you know, he knew him, and so they made a calculated effort, and maybe because they didn't think that people that look like us would have voted for Obama as a Republican. So they groomed him to be the sort of the Messiah, so to speak, of us when it came to the office of president. And like you said, he did the most damage to be who he was. But he did a lot of damage to us. He didn't help us. I mean, it took me to the second term to realize I didn't see the fraud, the fakery until this. By the time we got to the second term, then I realized, you know, when I thought back of all these poor old grandmothers standing up was to vote for him and crying. I never thought I lived to see the day when a black man would be. And I'm thinking, you still didn't see the day. You did.
He had to hide his dark-skinned sister so they wouldn't know he wasn't pale face. The whole political circus is predicated upon being able to successfully pass as another race with your drop of blood. Right. So that's the same with Hollywood. Like the Duke, John Wayne was passing.
Really?
Marilyn Monroe was passing. They figured out Jane Mansfield was passing. They decapitated her.
Is that why she got killed in that car accident?
Decapitated her. She come from a powerful bloodline, and they didn't want her to reveal her true ethnicity to the world, so they had to get rid of her.
Now her daughter became I forget her name. She's an actress, very very well known actress. These things one played in one of those doctor series. I'm trying to think of her name, but she has a daughter that's her bloodline continued.
Liz Taylor was passing. Elvis was passing. His mama was an octoroon.
Mm.
I mean, I can keep. J. Edgar Hoover was passing.
Yeah, no, I heard that. Yeah, 2 times. He was passing in 2 ways.
Yeah, he was passing for a man and passing for a heroin at that.
Yeah.
See, the whole Hollywood thing of the era, because you gotta remember, Oscar was a brother.
Yeah, actor is a demon chef. What was his name? I know it was a brother that they named that the Oscar after.
And the reason why the Oscar looks like Ty is the guy that's supposed to form man from the clay on the potter's wheel.
Ty?
The eugenic Ty, PTAH.
Oh, like Pata, like okay, all right.
Right. So he was the fashioner. The American struggle was to give some people that was denied ascension rights the right to ascend. Because they was genetically manipulated. And the only remedy was a drop of original blood. And that's why I look like you got pale-faced Chinese, Japanese, pale-faced Hindus. All of the royal families of the planet had to give up a drop of blood. And then we had some come from other places to give a drop of blood.
What was this blood given like to some DNA pool, like like the Noah's Ark that had?
No, it was sexual amalgamation.
So meaning you had to get with somebody of the Caucasian,
Right.
Caucasian, so that
and that's why they gave the pale face the run of the family farm that they called the plantation to do what he want with any, because they had to get their drop of blood, and because of what was done to them, everything that was did to us was done to them first.
That's interesting.
From the lynching to the barbecuing them to the people in Europe was eating them. They was the same as cattle. We call them people. I don't know if I don't want to get a strike on your channel, but the little hat people.
Okay.
Right, the Zionists.
Yeah.
They cannibals. Vlad the Impaler was not no pale face.
Okay, he was from that lineage that you're talking about.
Yeah, so they was eating them people. They was doing all kind of stuff to them, using their kids for sex toys and adrenalized blood from them. They was doing all that over in Europe. That's why they got kicked out. You don't kill and still be uncivilized. Because when they got to China and Japan, they had to teach them how to wipe their behind and take a bath. Just like when they came over here, they had to learn how to wipe their behind and take a bath. They didn't know none of that stuff over there. And they were supposed to be being civilized. Somebody not doing a good job as a civilizer because they still uncivilized.
Yeah.
Don't know nothing about no seasoning in the food. Today we still be talking about who cooked it. Because it ain't got no seasoning in it. So who put raisins in potato salad? Right? And they cornbread and goulash. It's a side. It's don't go in it. It's a side dish. You don't serve them. Some of the stuff that they cook shows that they didn't have any culinary capability. I mean, whoever they was did a piss poor job. And then they being expelled from Europe coincide with the arrival of Columbus in America. That's not no coincidence. I don't know.
So you're saying that was because they were kicked out?
Yeah, because they wasn't civilizing nobody. They was exploiting everybody, but they wasn't civilizing nobody.
Well, if you're not civilized, if you're uncivilized, you can't civilize anybody. I mean, what you can't teach somebody something.
Well, somebody said that they was over there from 711 to 1494 civilizing Europe, but Europe still wasn't civilized. So if in all of them years, of what, 700 years,
mm-hmm.
and they still not civilized, you don't know what the hell you doing. Or you deliberately not doing what you claiming you doing.
Develop, what our topic is, systems. Would you say that these systems they didn't develop them at all, that these were handed down to them from could it be some extraterrestrial or interdimensional hierarchy that was running things behind the scenes and giving them a playbook, so to speak, of how to become a controlling force? Because like you said, they were on. So how do you even become the so-called mighty power that they purport to be, that they've written into history? And even when you when you answer that, talk about the alleged 297 or so interjected years that they put in so that they could fit in to history.
Well, they didn't switch the calendar so much. I don't know how many years they done added or took away. We done been under the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, all these other calendars too. So I don't know exactly how many years has been scrambled in the mix, but I do know this. In years gone by, there used to be something called the Ancient Code of Kings. The Ancient Code of Kings was an instructional manual given to the kings by the ones who call themselves the gods. And the Ancient Code of Kings tell you how to govern a kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
There's another book which is a counteroffensive to that called the Ancient Code of Thieves. Today, we know that the Ancient Code of Thieves is called Uniform Commercial Code. So they never changed anything. They just rewrote it where it looked more palatable and more uniform. The codes, the systems is designed. How do you control masses of people? You can't micromanage everybody. You don't have to if you can control the systems.
True.
Right. If you control the education, you can tell them what to think. If you control the entertainment, you can tell them how to enjoy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you can enjoy their labor, you can adjust their income where they won't rebel against the oppression. Like, no matter how rich you get, you should call it a two-part siphoning method. On one side, you got fractional reserve banking that gives you something called inflation. Inflation creates something, it creates a loss of value to the underlying currency, right? That's fractional reserve banking. And then on the other end, they have something called taxation. Now, remember, the so-called Civil War was supposed to be a rebellion about a 2% tax on tea.
True.
But the people that was at the Boston Tea Party was dressed up like us, but they wasn't us. They didn't even tell you that in the news reports of the era. People masquerading as Indians came in. So, I mean, their systems is critical for controlling masses of people. The most effective one is religion. Because as long as they hide the inner God by telling you to look outside yourself for him, they got you.
True.
You can't never use your own personal power and volition because you trapped in this system of dogmatic philosophical BS. They run this stuff by you. They steal your history, then they repurpose it. Like all these Christians sweeping down Jesus coming back. Ain't no Jesus coming because Jesus is ISIS. ISIS might come back, but so as long as you waiting on Jesus, you got a long wait. But if you realize that ISIS only comes at the close of the age to set the record straight. Okay, why are they concealing this? Right? They're not telling us the truth about the oracles of the Delphi. They're not telling us about Vatican. And we don't know the Vatican is named after a goddess.
No, I didn't know that.
Right? They don't tell us about the daughters of Isis. But they don't want us to know about the divine feminine because the divine feminine is the first heirs of earth. It's the oldest contract of the earth to determine its gender is feminine. We don't call this Father Earth. We call it Mother Earth for a reason. Right? And that's the oldest contract. The one that can figure out how the grandfather clause to grandmother clause is going to beat them all out. That's the oldest. Ain't nobody never overturned that. Well, Enlil tried, but he lost.
And how about, is that tied into the Sibyls and all that?
Yeah, those were all priestesses of the Great Mother. So she leave priesthoods behind. All these male priests dressed in them dresses, they dressed in drag. They cross dressers. I call them consistently a cross-dressing pedophile priest cult. Homosexual pedophile priest cult. They want to sodomize the boys so they can't never resist them when they become men. They want to feminize them, right? And as far as the ancient record tell, once a male is sodomized, he ain't fit to be king. Because soon as he come online, he gonna have schizophrenia. So they give us these systems as crowd control. And the most effective two systems is religion and divide and conquer. Divide and conquer is a strategy that tells them how to use division in all areas of people activity. This is why they, like, all of the big mamas on the land used to have their own banks. You know what they call them today? We believe in that the plantation bank was somebody foreigner's bank. That was the bank for Big Mama of that house. When they had to close all of their plantation banks, so they turned to loose economic hitmen and rob them, so they can institute a central banking system. The same people that was protesting the central banking system in the colonial period is the same people who instituted the central banking system in the colonial period.
Okay, so they robbed the Big Mama's, like I said, bank, and they killed. And I mean, you know, if you look at the scripture in Proverbs 31 when it talks about the who can find a virtuous woman, I always like to use that scripture to talk about the fact that if you really read it, everything it says that the wife does, she's running stuff. I mean, she's getting up, she's taking care of property, she's buying the land, she's making sure everybody, she's doing this, she's doing that, she's doing that. And he's down at the gate with the other brothers, you know, talking about what a good woman I got. But she's running stuff that, you know, not like she was being forced to, but she had more, if you wherewithal to run things, you know, than apparently the husband.
So, like, let's go back to Kemet, because people love to go to Kemet because they think that's the only civilized culture we ever developed. But that was Johnny Come Lattis, millions of years old when that was created. But the Pharaoh, everybody think the man was the Pharaoh. But the word is identifying the woman of the house as the light of the house. Can't no man be Pharaoh. But I let them go ahead with their narrative to push their patriarchal agenda, because most people don't understand. This is why all of those women that back arrow prominent in all of the paintings and carvings. They was really the power behind the man that sits on the throne. They could have grabbed a peasant to do his job. His job was to follow instructions from the lady of the house. The word pharaoh literally means she who lights the house. And most of us, we believe what the they only focus on the male pharaohs. And that's why they kept it in the family. That's why they was intermarrying in the family, is for power. Right? But all of our moral code is derived from people that have no morals. So we don't know what they was doing. We just look at them, turn our nose up and roll our eyes and tell them about them some nasty people. We don't know what they was doing. But if they was at higher level of civilization, they had to know what they was doing. They understood genetics because they wrote about it. They wrote about breeding programs and different species being created. They tell the story of when they went to Europe and pulled something from out of the mountains and brought it back, that the Queen Mother said, "What manner of beast is this?" All that's in the writings over there. They told them to do genetic testing and come back and tell them what it was. So they did genetic testing and said, "This is a human." As far as the genetics say. But the muscle tone is all wrong. The fat to muscle ratio is off. The ability to lactate is void. So this is why they give you the story of Romulus and Remus suckling a wolf.
Why?
Because they couldn't lactate. So they had to use the wolf to suckle the babies. Some of them use goats. Wasn't no cows yet.
They had made them, right?
They hadn't made them yet. There wasn't no cows yet. So they were suckling sheep, goats, and dogs. Too good produce enough milk for, But when we looking at this stuff, 1,000 years, 1,500, 2,000, 5,000 years later, we don't see it the way that they seen it in the contemporary time that it was taking place. And this is how a lot is lost with the time that goes by. Bits and pieces of information fall off and the stories become refined mythology. The mythology got more truth in it than the religious text. That's the sad part.
Yeah. Now when you're older, you go back and look at this, the beanstalk, and talk about Jack the Giant Killer, but we thought it was mythology, but there were giants. There were giants in the land.
It still is. You ain't seen the NBA? You can't tell me Shaq ain't no giant. You can't tell me Manu Bol ain't no giant. You can't tell me that Vlade Divac ain't no giant. Akeem Olajuwon, them giants. That was common in Mississippi culture. And that's why they tell you right now they got a whole bunch of giants they found out in the Southwest. We've been here. Some of us got giants in our bloodline.
Yeah.
We gotta remember the average size of most humans in the 1800s was approximately 5'3", the median height. To see somebody over 6 feet, let alone 6 feet and 200 pounds, that was a colossus. But now when you go back further into antiquity, you find that they was bigger. But it's just like with your Cadillac. It started off as huge, but as the upgrades came in, they downsized the vehicle. It's the same thing that they're doing with us genetically. When the DNA upgrade, we don't have to be 50 foot tall no more. Because we don't need to have 13 strands of DNA because we don't need them no more. So they refined it down to 2 strands. Where all of the same information is accessible, it's just that it requires more discipline to access it than it did when it was 12 strands.
So when they're doing these upgrades and so forth, it's having to do with the fact that when babies are born, they're always taking they're taking blood samples from, and why don't they tell you?
They don't have to. Yeah, they don't want you to know because controlling information. That's controlling information. But the sun and the earth gonna change the DNA anyway. The sun and the earth, the solar flares and human resonance is gonna correct all of theirs in the DNA. The only reason we having birth defects is because some people are too powerful to come in normal. So you got to give them a restricted body out of way. And that was all programmed in the laboratory. So when the powerful ones come in, they automatically activate the defects, especially ones they call muscular dystrophy and cerebral palsy. The babies born hydroencephalia, they were supposed to have a bigger brain than the rest of us. The problem is that the genetic alterations in the laboratory caused it to retain too much fluid, which suppresses the growth of the brain, and then it causes them to have all kind of problems.
Wow. So back to system. So we talked about religion, the system of, I want to talk about war because, stuff going on. I hear differing factions. I know there's a difference between the so-called Jewish people who are being persecuted, the average everyday people, and the ones running stuff. A lot of times the people in these various countries I find innocent, but there's always some regime, some power that's over the people that are the monsters. And so and it's the same for here, I think, with us. I mean, we could be targets of craziness just because of the fact that the US government is a part of a system of control and maybe Kabbalistic and the C word, not the K Kabul, and in the sense that they are economic hitmen running all around the world, just enslaving and taking from people's resources and so forth. So we become targets because we are the people that live here. And how do we separate ourselves when shit hits the fan, like the people in, say, Israel that are, they're not all bad, but maybe Netanyahu's not, it's for stuff like that.
Well, the problem is that the unseen hand never wanted to be seen. So the one that's pulling the strings in America, the Vatican, and London, and Israel, and wherever else you want to go, where people being exploited, it's the same person, same people.
Right.
Right. But they don't show themselves. They just show you the people they want you to attack when you realize you want your stuff back. Right. Like Netanyahu's the biggest puppet on the planet. Even though I can't stand him and that he better not be within 3 feet of me, I'm gonna turn his spit red out the gate. But he's still being controlled. All of the so-called terrorist groups was created by the United States, England, and Israel, especially since 1948. I don't care if it's the PLO or Yasser Arafat, they was created by the CIA. If it was Hamas was created by the Mossad. You know, so and we can go down the list. ISIS was created by the CIA. ISIS was created by the CIA with a different agenda, though. ISIS was supposed to make us hate the word ISIS like we hate the word gang. ISIS is the mother of the that owns the sacerdotal seat. So as long as we looking at ISIS as being evil and villainous, then we'll be resistant to the return of the Great Mother. It's like warfare is, according to Sun Tzu, warfare is based on deception. I mean, at the beginning of the war, you already planning to deceive. Carver and Clausewitz say that all war is a political act of violence. It's the same as politics, but it's used bullets to enforce the political will. So when we're looking at what we up against versus who in the strings, you don't got to see them. All you got to realize that they've been tricking us, and the method of trickery they're using will break the spell up off of you. Because they're using conjure magic, mass hypnosis. The greatest hypnotic spell they ever put us on was the We From Africa hypnosis. If you get them to say it long enough, you might be able to convince them. They had 200 years to convince you from somewhere else. But that's a leverage narrative, to leverage you to never assert your proper claim as sui juris, to exercise your territorial jurisdiction over the land. They got subject matter jurisdiction because that's their paperwork. They got copyrights on every piece of paper you file in the court, from written notices. They all of that is their intellectual property. Allow you to use, as long as you're using their intellectual property, they got control of your intellect. So we use the oral tradition based on ancient Kemetic science of the Husia, authoritative utterance with the exceptional insight. We ain't got to write nothing down. We just tell you what it is. But now everybody is so dependent on the written word that the oral tradition is falling out of favor with the people who been living by the oral tradition for millions of years. Nice kind game, but it don't work on me.
Wow. So they are, we know that they the same entity, you know, I call it the triangulation, you know, when we talk about the Vatican, London, and the US. And when we talked earlier about the 200-year conjure, are they were they a part of that? And could you kind of go into a little bit more detail about what we talked about today with what?
So,
yeah.
Look, when you do blood magic on a mass scale, you need what's called first blood. This is why they can't never let us forget Crispus Attucks was the first to die in the American Revolution. Right? Because his blood is first blood. The contract had to be written in his blood in order for it to have effect. Because it's written in a book, the blood of the righteous shall not be spilled in vain. Right? So when you go to the George Washington Masonic Memorial Museum, you see a constitution, but it's written in fading letters. The letters look kind of like rust. That's blood. Right? I got a book over there on blood magic to tell you exactly how it worked. Right? And that they was using it in politics. When you sign with red ink, that's symbolic to signing it in blood.
Okay.
Right? Because the blood is the key to the rights. Because you got to have the blood, the right, and the wherewithal to use both of them to your advantage. So to identify Crispus Attucks as the first to fall in the American Revolution, they telling us who blood they wrote the contract in without telling us that they wrote the blood in his contract, the contract in his blood. Right? Then they tell us he was a mixed blood. No, he wasn't. Because my man's daddy was tribes from over here. Right? But they want us to believe he was from Africa so that they can continue the slave narrative and pushing us off our land by ocean land. That's why the paper genocide was at play. Right? Where they reclassified us on paper. That's their intellectual property. That don't mean we got to believe they BS. That's their intellectual property. They got a right to do what they intellectual. They can remix it if they want to. We just can't fall for their remix. We got to have more passion for the original than the remix. It's just like now some people make a song, they be a remake of somebody else's song. That's a good song, but it ain't good as the original. They use sharecropping agreements to muscle us off the land. Then they use the same sharecropping agreements to steal our intellectual property in Hollywood, in New York, with music and movies. The 360 deal is a sharecropping agreement.
So
everything.
They keep applying it to different. Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't never change. Fight easy to track them. Everything they do, they use the same MO. Good cop, bad cop, Button Jeff routine. First, they gonna send some guy in. He the clergy. He supposed to be all nice, sweet, and holier than thou, but he the most wicked out of all of them. Then they gonna send the a-hole in there with the bad attitude. He the best one of the two. You don't want to talk to him because you don't like his attitude, so you want to talk to the one with the pleasing personality. That's the snake of all snakes, the grand dragon.
Some people might be wondering about what contract you're talking about when you said, the contract was written in Crispus Attucks' blood.
The Constitution, the secondary Constitution. Everybody knows it's two constitutions. The second one was written in the blood of Crispus Attucks, and it's on file. You can pull it up, George Washington Masonic Memorial Museum, Constitution, and it'll show you the book. Written like that's why it's fading, because the contract only can last for so long. When the blood fades, it loses its strength.
And this was to perform a conjure, which they put us under.
A mass conjure.
A mass conjure. So it's about to expire if calculations are correct. Some say
it expired in 2012.
But it seems like nobody knows that it's expired. I mean, that coincide with the Mayan calendar and all that stuff, or was that just coincidental? Because
so it was supposed to. If we would have stuck to the original program, it would have ended in 1976. Okay. The problem is they didn't ever stop attacking us when we were supposed to educate ourselves above the condition. So when in the war 1812, we took them back to war. That gave them an extension at the clock, 200-year rule, which lasted until 2012. But the problem is it still take what they call dissipation time. The dissipation time is once the spell is broke, for people to come from up under the slumber, it's a grace period of time that it takes. Right. So you still have markers that they're giving you in the form of legislation or what they call coding, like Agenda 2025, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2040, all that. The agendas is just if we don't wake up from under the contract, this is what we're gonna do next.
They're gonna extend it more, do more damage, do more harm.
Yeah, but sad for them, everything they thought they was getting away with, they got trapped. See, where they made their big biggest mistake, George Herbert Walker Bush had a Senate Select Committee. William Cooper talked about this to Behold a Pale Horse, where he declared himself King George, the first of the United States of America. That means that when Bill Clinton was in there 2 terms, G. Dummy was in there 2 terms, and Obama was in there 2 terms, he was still the president. They was just sitting in. They was sitting in as his assets.
Well, didn't that happen with Obama pulling the strings behind the scenes?
Biden been gone. That was all central casting in order to give us enough time to wake up enough people in order to break free from the slumber. Wasn't enough of us waking up, so they had to get more time, so they put the Biden administration in between the 2 Trump administrations. But this is it for the corporate America's gone. I'm just waiting them to start arresting these crooked ass judges and lawyers because they the ones who were doing all of the writing of how to steal our stuff. And they was told to do it by King George in Savannah, Georgia in the 1800s. In the first charter of the bar, he said, take everything from them using the law. So they used the law, squatter right. They used salvage rights. The salvage rights came from the wreck of the Plymouth when they took us to the World Court and said we crashed our landmass into their ship. But they don't tell the populace. So the ones who figure it out, they got to leave you a code. Malcolm said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
That's why.
What are you talking about? The Mayflower is the good ship Plymouth. The first place it docked, there's a rock there called the Plymouth Rock. That's the memorial of where the Plymouth ran ashore. We don't know what none of that stuff means because we don't understand that they talking to each other in Masonic code, especially the Scottish Rite. They was the main ones that was involved in it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that's how we get to figure out all kinfolk, all skin folk and kinfolk.
So I want to something up with what you just said, about they didn't land on us, they landed on them. And so it's talking about, it says here, like what that possibly might mean from a metaphorical type, that our land was conscious, not merely territory, but a living spiritual force. It was not discovered. It revealed itself and initiated karmic consequences. That their ship was already doomed, spiritually speaking, reading this. The arrival of colonizers was not an act of destiny, but of disruption. And the land responded accordingly. Wreck as a metaphor, it wasn't that the land caused a little shipwreck, but that the presence of something so spiritually misaligned with land, imperialism, conquest, greed, was destined to spiritually wreck the invaders, no matter how grand their plans.
So we get the authorization to colonize us from the Pope through unum sanctums and papals.
Right.
In the papal bull, he declared all the people of the earth imbeciles, incompetent, and therefore he gonna handle all of our affairs on our behalf, whether we want him to or not. Who gave that sucker that kind of power?
He took it.
Well, he didn't. He's a puppet too. That's the part it's not clicking. But when you see them people who feety kissing, then it'll start to make sense to put him in power. They look like us. They ain't us. They don't even look like us to me, but to some of us and the people that don't look like us, we all look alike.
Right.
But I could spot them. I could spot their behavior. They got a characteristic behavior pattern. They always start hard enough when we get together to congregate for peaceful purposes, they come in and want to rustle up some BS. They shit starters everywhere they go. They can't help it. It's their nature. They can't stand to see two peaceful people having a peaceful conversation, getting along, and they don't interrupt you with some shenanigans.
That's their job. That's their job. Let me see. Washington. Somebody said Washington is empty.
Look, it's a lady on YouTube named Andrew, been filming it for the last 6-7 years. Showing all the buildings. Some of the buildings is just like ghost towns. They got fences around other buildings. Some buildings just not even being used. The United States Treasury moved. It's not even in DC no more, the headquarters. They got a satellite office still there, but the headquarters is right outside Reno, Nevada now, on a native base, on a native reservation.
So what are the so-called, these senators and Congress people, what are they doing as far as when, they're allegedly not home, they're up in DC, where are they? What they doing? Because I got somebody here.
They have origins.
Look, I'm going to say, I know somebody here who's our so-called senator, and I wonder, what, I've heard is going on there, when she goes off there, where the heck is she going? Or do they, is there some kind of do they just kind of sit around and go, okay, meanwhile, what we do next? But they're not really doing anything. Now, you see these congressional hearings every now and then. They're speaking of congressional hearings, there's one that went on in the last few days or a couple of weeks, I don't know what it is, but they've been showing it a lot about the COVID shots and the damage of 76% of those people who were unalive had been vaccinated, and now they're holding hearings somewhere. I mean, it's supposed to be Senate, Congress, whatever. But where do they go? Where are they going since everything is?
Since you brought that up, go back to the Senate hearings that they invited Jeff Ford to and look at the building, and then look at the building they have to me, and that's not the same building.
Jeff Fort, the one that you've been talking.
Yeah. See, they called him down there because they gave him grant money. And he was the first person they ever had a congressional hearing to determine what you do with the grant money we gave you. So he came in, he got up and left. But they didn't like that too well, so they decided to railroad him into prison. Right? Go look at it. It's the same building. So wherever they at, it's a studio.
Really?
The real House Senate building is a vaulted ceiling. These ceilings is low. Right? And it's set up different. Right? They got a spot for the Speaker of the House, and then they got a seat on each side of the Speaker, and then the rest of the Congress sit around them. It's modeled after the Unity Hall in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we were there with Empress.
Yeah, that was the Capitol until they rolled out contract for the Chris Atticus situation. They had to move the Capitol because the tribe, one of the elders, put a curse on the building. They thought it like they had hot sauce on their ass.
So when we went, Empress sat in that high seat, and they like to had a triple conniption.
That was taking back the power. That was Big Mama sitting on Big Mama's seat, and they didn't like it, but it wasn't nothing they could do about it because they already know who we are. So if you remember when you was there, it was a lady in the other room. She was recalling the curse that was put on the place, and she was telling you don't bring nothing in the history books. They're all lies. Right? She was the closest blood relative to the one who put the original curse on the building. So when Empress sit in the seat, she had to unlock the curse in order to take back the power. And that wasn't planned. She didn't even was going to do that when she was going. She was just following what she felt.
Yeah. She ruffled their feathers. She ruffled their feathers. Yes. Let me see what they're saying down here. I just okay. Very strange things happen in Philadelphia. Oh, well. That belief for a situation being the Eagle too. I'm just trying to see if there's anything, if anybody was asking any particular questions. Oh damn, that got a response was funny.
The courts have nothing to do with us, by the way.
Say what?
Somebody asked a question about the courts. The courts have nothing to do with us. And the way that you know the courts don't have nothing to do with us is it's a matter between barristers. The judge a barrister, the prosecutor a barrister, the attorney's a barrister. They all barristers. You're the only one not a barrister. So what do you have to do with barristers' business? They tricking us.
But jurisdictionally, if we haven't done certain things to declare our status or correct our status, then we are in.
They don't even acknowledge us correct in their system.
No, they don't.
They will only acknowledge certain people because they come from a certain bloodline. They know who we all are. So certain people will get relief, but the majority won't. Where's the rise of the Moors? Are they still locked up? They was right. Exercising what they call a constitutional right to form a well-armed militia. Also, the right to bear arms. Constitutionally, they was correct. But they're still charging them with criminal behavior for following the Constitution. So either the Constitution means something or it don't, or it only means something for certain people. They don't have nothing to do with us. They, of course, have nothing to do with us. They got us in there. You know, all we is to them is a thumb drive full of data. We just another file that they using to shuffle around across the tables. Where they come from?
Who? They who?
The courts. Where they come from? We got tribal courts still operating on the land that's autonomous of their systems. But they ignore our tribal courts in order for them to push their artificial constitutional color of law de facto system on us.
Because those are
they are a foreign body politic.
That's how they extract the fee from us, you know, with these contracts and these bonds and these all of these various things that they get to, you know, go into, you know, our trust and take our, you know, plus take whatever else they want from, you know, family. It impacts family or so-called family, kinfolk, because when they, you know, when you got to pay for phone calls and commissary and this, that, and the third, and putting people, you know, paying bail and bond and all of these things, you know, it doesn't affect the one that they have kidnapped. It's you know, it affects.
We haven't even noticed that they make us pay to be their slave. Just think about that. If you go to the county jail, most of these sheriffs, they feed you work down, right? But you haven't been convicted. But under their system, they swear that you're innocent until you proven guilty, but they treat you like you guilty.
True.
Because in their system, you automatically automatically guilty regardless of what they say out their mouth. They all are acting under the color of law, colorable law, using color as the code. They de facto, they don't belong here. But as long as we go along and get along and we don't say nothing, they'll stay as long as they want to. When we get fed up and recognize what's taking place, the police is a foreign military that is occupying the territory. The police charters trace straight back to London. I'm talking about the organization that owned the title police over there.
Oh,
Okay, now over here, the pirates is called Skull and Bones, but over there they call it the Scroll and Key. Same thing, pirates. All they doing is coming to suck our blood. Vampires.
vampire.
And we wore wolves. That's that movie, Underworld. You ever see that?
Underworld. I
So that this lady that was a vampire, and she was fighting to. Then eventually they came out with a hybrid vampire werewolf that was supposed to lead both sides. It's all about that drop of blood. It's called it's called Underworld. It's like three part movie.
Now look, I don't know. I'm not aware of that, but somebody said it was awesome. I got to look at that one of the streaming things with the live.
Look, if you go back to Twilight, the tribes turned into wolves.
Okay.
But the colonizers, they was vampires. They glistened in the sun.
Are we talking about the real ones?
That's
we're
talking about the movie Twilight.
Okay.
So now, question is, why are they glistening in the sun? But they pale face. Because they are expressing something called prismatic melanin. Right. So the prismatic melanin reflect in the sun, but pale skin don't.
Okay. So why?
But they was telling you, they was just using that as a like a representation of who the people was that came over here versus who they was fighting.
Okay.
They call the werewolves lichens. They say they look like kin, but they not.
Yeah, somebody put the lichens in the chat. Yeah.
Yep. They look like kin, but they not.
And what was the other guy's name that played the vampire? Wesley Snipes. Didn't he?
Blade.
Blade. Wasn't he a vampire or something?
Yeah, he was what you call a daywalker, a vampire that could tolerate the sun.
Okay. Because they had the protection of the melanin. But you know what blew my mind today when we were talking, and I didn't realize it. Maybe other people realized, I didn't. So it's like I was today years old when I found out, that this brother had been in prison. Larry Hoover had been in prison for 52 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna wrap that one up. They're still on for quite a while. I'm not sure how long they stay on. We started it back at the beginning. They'd already been on for a little bit when we started it. The link is out there for everybody to get. You want to finish watching it, please do, by all means. A lot of good information in there. The first bit of it that we have watched here today together is very informative. It goes right along with summing up and connecting a lot of the dots where Sheepdog shared about the, get in where you fit in message. All right. And it's not to get along to go along, but it's to get in where you fit in so that you can learn and grow as the journey continues. Sheepdog, anything you want to add? Okay. They might be frozen. Well, that being said, I want to thank everybody who hung with us tonight. It's been an enjoyable time sharing. I hope everybody works on meditation to have a good rest, okay? Because your rest is so important right now. And we got to take care of self in order to take care of the unification. All right? You're not going to be any good at helping others if you can't help yourself first, right? With that being said, love you all. Hope you have a good night. Sheepdog, if you can hear me, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Well, I thought I had the video ready to go to close it out. Oh, here we go.
Under the sun and moon we gather, a family bound, our hearts together. We laugh, we cry, through thick and thin. In every challenge, we begin again. Truth Seekers 88, our home filled with love and light, sharing dreams in day and night. On the truth train we ride as one, helping each other, everyone. We talk of the truths of our ancient lands. Together we stand, hand in hand. In our disagreements, we find the way to grow, to learn each passing day. Truth Seekers 88, our home filled with love and light, sharing dreams in day and night. On the truth train we ride as one, helping each other, everyone. In every thought and every word, voices strong, our truths are heard. With open hearts, we stand as friends, a bond that never ends. Expressing thoughts, we find our peace. In unity, our spirits release. Helping others with all we know. In the light of truth we grow. Truth Seekers 88, our home filled with love and light, sharing dreams in day and night. On the truth train we ride as one, helping each other, everyone. here's to Mike, the sheepdogs in us, our family. In seeking truth, we find our way, together stronger.